there we have it. 617 Lancaster bomber. Throughout Cheshire's period as Commander-in-Chief of 617 Squadron and up until the end of the Second World War, they had flown the Lancaster bomber and also the de Havilland Mosquito. At the end of the war, they started to fly the Avro Lincoln, which was a very much larger version of the Lancaster, designed to compete with the American Superfortress, but it never really got into this role. Then 617 Squadron took to flying Canberras, the world's first jet-powered bomber aircraft. As a medium bomber, the Canberra took part in several policing operations in Egypt, Malaya and other places, and also stayed in RAF service as a reconnaissance and maritime aircraft well into the 20th century. And then finally, 617 Squadron returned to their strategic bomber role with the Avro Vulcan. In 1958, 617 flew the Avro Vulcan as a nuclear retaliation bomber of the Cold War. After a 3-year flirtation with the Canberra bomber, which included a squadron posting to Malaya, 617 Squadron was equipped with Avro Vulcan B-2s, a mighty beast and the first delta-winged bomber ever to fly. Operational in 1956, the notion was for the flight of fully bombed up Vulcans to sit ready on the runway for takeoff at 4 minutes notice and to make a retaliatory raid after a Soviet first strike. The noise of a flight of Vulcans taking off was a deterrent in itself. Everything in your body shook as the brute force of 24 Rolls-Royce Olympus engines pushed 6 Vulcans to counter-attack the Russian Bear. Or was it the Badger or the Bison? Fortunately, the deterrent was never needed, and an event in 1960 changed the whole profile of the retaliation in any event, and the Vulcan became Britain's only V-bomber on frontline duty. The idea was for the V-bombers to fly over Russian cities at an altitude of around 60,000 feet, much as the Superfortress had done when bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Releasing the bomb at this height from a jet bomber should mean that the aircraft could get away before the main effects of the blast occurred, but the city would be destroyed. 60,000 feet was considered a safe altitude away from enemy fighters and from missile attack. But on the 1st of June 1960, a U-2 flying on a mission over Russia received a nasty surprise. Flying at 70,000 feet, a ground-to-air missile actually reached it. Much to the great embarrassment of President Eisenhower, Gary Powers, the pilot of the U-2, was captured alive. This meant that V-bombers were no longer safe at high altitude, so they had to fly in below the radar at a height not exceeding 1,000 feet. The Vulcan flew this mission so low down that it couldn't be shot at, and got under the enemy radar. But it couldn't bomb at this altitude, so it then went into a vertical Immelmann and tossed the bomb onto the target. This technique was sometimes called the over-the-shoulder bombing because the aircraft was on its reciprocal route when the explosion went off behind it. The low-level profile of this fight put great stresses on the airframe of the V-bombers. Only the Vulcan was capable of sustaining a long mission at a low altitude, and all the other V-bombers were pensioned off to other duties. The Vulcan then began to fly a standoff mission with Blue Steel rocket bombs. The Vulcan only needed to pop its nose into enemy territory, and it could then fire the Blue Steel bomb over a distance of 400 to 500 miles to hit the target. The Vulcan need never make itself vulnerable over the target area at all. Next in 617's arsenal, the Panavia Tornado GR1 was issued in January 1983 to 617 Squadron, and with it came the WE-177 tactical nuclear weapon, a 1.5 megaton weapon that was to be used to slow down enemy armour in Eastern Europe in the event of a USSR invasion. The Tornado goes back to toss bombing, flying in at low altitude and then climbing into a vertical Immelmann whilst tossing the bomb 3 to 7 miles onto the target area, so that the bomb explodes as the Tornado is making its escape. Alternately, the Tornado can fly a low-high-low supersonic overpass of the target area, again approaching at low level, going into a vertical climb and releasing a parachute-retarded bomb onto the target area as the Tornado makes its escape. But it wasn't too long before the WE-177 tactical nuclear weapon was withdrawn from service, and 617 then went non-nuclear again. Still flying the Tornado, it dropped a variety of standoff and laser-guided ordnance for bombing duties. It also dropped the JP-233 multiple bomblet anti-personnel low-level attack weapon for area denial. The main target for this type of weapon was enemy airfields and runways. During the Gulf War, 617 Squadron were based in Kuwait and flew 91 sorties, dropping the Paveway laser-guided bomb, claiming among other targets 10 hardened bunkers destroyed. This is repeating the World War II role of 617 Squadron, carrying out bunker-busting Lancaster missions with tallboy bombs. In 1994, Flight Lieutenant Joe Salter of 617 Squadron became the first fully qualified woman fast jet combat pilot in the Royal Air Force. She flew combat air patrols in Iraq. So, 617 Squadron has now flown Lancasters, Mosquitoes, Lincolns, Canberras, Vulcans and Tornadoes. Finally, the addition to the party, the F-35 Lightning II Stealth Strike Bomber Fighter. The weapons package and mission capability for the F-35 is very similar to that of the Tornado, but all the weapons in a Lightning II, including air-to-air capability, are carried internally to preserve its full stealth capability. 617 Squadron now operates with Royal Navy aircrew alongside those of the Royal Air Force, with F-35s operating from Queen Elizabeth carriers as well as from RAF Marham. (617's home airfield is still Woodhall Spa. This airfield has not been preserved as the request for Scampton, but it is the home of 617 Squadron's Dam Buster Memorial. 617 Squadron continues to fly in the best traditions of the Royal Air Force, and long may they continue to do so. A little tailpiece to the story. Les Munro was an Australian, and he was the last surviving Dam Buster pilot when he died in 2015. His aircraft, W for Willie, was badly damaged by flak near Holland, and the crew found that all the communications had been knocked out. The raid depended on communications to communicate height, speed and range to target, so they decided it was useless to continue and they had to return to base. The bomb was still attached when Les landed the Lancaster because the bomb didn't arm until the electric motor was fired up to spin it. Guy Gibson, when he got back, dismissively said that Les was flying too high. Gibson was posted soon after and never spoke to Les again. Les always regretted the somewhat unfair criticism because he knew he had been flying the target profile and just happened to fly right over a German flak battery. He came back to England in 1993 for the 50th anniversary of the raid, and he discovered that there were no plans to erect any sort of national memorial to Bomber Command. He immediately sold his medals and flight logbook for £75,000 and donated this for the Royal Air Force Bomber Command Memorial. So, if you made it to the end of this one, thank you very much for staying. It was a story where the truth is better than the fiction. In the history of Bomber Command, 617 Squadron are true and real heroes. Well, that brings the curtain down on another lockdown special. There will be more of the history of Bomber Command to follow. Hopefully, I can keep these programs coming until we can start our meetings once again. The usual requests: until we can meet again, stay safe, stay home, stay secure, stay healthy. Thank you and goodbye now.